Hi darlings, welcome, välkomna, добро пожаловать. My name is Samantha Rogers. Today is Friday, and that means another True Crime Stories with Sal. I hope you guys are doing good. I don't know about you, but it's been kind of like a weird energy going on this week or past week. I don't know if you guys felt it, but I definitely felt it. Yeah, it's just, I feel like this week just been off for some reason. But it's a new month, a new moon, so I hope that all cleanse all of the negativity and just gives us more positive and nice energy from now on. Today's case was brought to me by one of my former clients, fitness clients. For those that don't know, my full-time job is that I'm a fitness trainer, or more specifically, a booty builder. I'm a glute isolation expert. So one of my clients a few years back was actually telling me this case, which I found very, very interesting, and also a good kind of like, a cautionary tale sort of a case. It's a very tragic case of a young, beautiful model here in Los Angeles. So before I get into the full case, I just want to, my usual disclaimer. I will be showing graphic photos today, just the FYI. I will be discussing rape and torture and murder. And also, today's case, I will not be mentioning the victim's true identity. I will change her name, but I will be mentioning the perpetrator by his full real name. Easily Google, if you Google his name, this case will pop up so you can find it on your way. I feel like most of these cases that end tragically, I want to, the victim and the victim's family has already been through so much, and I feel like I want to just keep their identity private. It's easy to search, of course, after you see this video, but I want definitely to mention the perpetrator, because most cases, especially in Europe, they kind of like blur out the face of the perpetrator, or they don't mention him by name, which I think is very, very stupid. Personally, don't come for me. That's my opinion. That's how I feel, because as a public, as a person, I want to know who the perpetrator is. God forbid he or she gets released and I see them on the street. Like, I want to know, like, oh, that's the bastard that did this, or that's the psycho that, killed her husband, or what have you. So I feel like it's very important to shed some information about the perpetrator, in my personal opinion. So without any further ado, my darlings, let's get into today's case. Today's case takes place in Hermosa Beach in 1995. For those that don't know where Hermosa Beach is, it's like literally going south, going towards San Diego. If you're like in downtown LA, going towards San Diego, it's approximately 15 miles away from downtown. It's a beautiful, beautiful beach. I mean, all of the beaches here in California are amazing, breathtaking. So Hermosa is one of those beautiful beaches. A beautiful blonde 27-year-old model who I will call Sandra. She lives in this apartment complex on the boardwalk in Hermosa Beach, and she is a cheerleader for the Raiders football team here in Los Angeles. And despite being a cheerleader, she also is a model. She is 5'4". She was not able to do any like catwalk or runway modeling, but she did a lot of catalog model because she had an amazing body, amazing fit, curvy body. In the industry world, or the model industry world, she was considered as too muscular, but if you see photos of her, she was basically slim and very toned, and kind of like one of those Baywatch babes bodies, if I would describe it. So she was stunning. She did a lot of modeling work. and she was now into acting as well. So on November 16th, it was a Thursday in 1995, Sandra gets paged because back then they had pagers, or we had pager. I never had a pager. I was still a baby or still a kid, so we used, telephones like house phones or whatever. But anyways, so she was paged from this photographer asking her to do like a last minute location shoot, and she agreed. She called her mother and left a voicemail on her phone saying that she will be calling her later, and also after that she's going on this photo shoot. And after this photo shoot, she also had a costume fitting or wardrobe fitting for a very well-known popular TV show called Married with Children. And just a side note, I feel like it's interesting to mention. I don't know if it's true or not, but one of the sources that when I was researching, said that Sandra was actually booked to play the daughter. I believe her name was Kelly on the show. Usually her photo shoots were always booked through her modeling agency. So through her agent, they book the shoot, they know the location, the person, the photographer, the company, what have you. But this was like more like of a private or like a freelance photo shoot gig. So she didn't mention nothing about location or person. And that's one thing that I want to emphasize on, just a side note again. As a model myself, doing photo shoot with new photographers that I never met, this is my first time meeting them, usually through Instagram. I always told either my husband or my friends. I also, luckily nowadays, we have, advanced technology, our iPhones or smartphones. We can always leave the location on. So I always left my location on throughout the whole day, so my husband could see where I was, my friends could see. So I always had that just in case. I always send the address even. So if you are an aspiring young model, or just a model working with a photographer for the first time, always, rule number one, don't forget, mention where you're going, who you're working with. So that's a huge mistake that Sandra did that fateful Thursday morning. She never disclosed the location nor the photographer. In the late afternoon that Thursday, Sandra's mom come to find out that Sandra actually never made it to her costume wardrobe fitting for the show Married with Children. She knew that Sandra would never ever miss out on this opportunity. Sandra's mother contacted the police, and fortunately enough, she also had Sandra's phone book, or like a little notebook that she wrote down different people's or friends' phone numbers. That's another thing that we had back then in the 90s. So she started calling Sandra's friends according to the list on that notebook. But unfortunately, no one knew where she was or she was supposed to meet that morning. Like I said, this was just like a last-minute photo shoot, and basically no one knew nothing else. 2 days later, a worker in Angels National Forest was, cleaning the area, and emptying the trash bins. And he discovered some very professional photos of a beautiful blonde model. And he just felt like, oh my God, these photos are so beautiful. He decided to keep them. So he took the photo, put it in his backpack, and, continue on with his day. And then later that next week, on Monday, he is at home watching TV, and he sees this news report about a missing model that basically they are searching for. And he realized, according to the news, that the model that they're looking for is the model on the photos that he found that weekend. So he immediately contacts the police, and he basically tells them the story that he is working at Angels National Forest. He was cleaning the area, and he found these photos just thrown in a trash bin. He also pointed out, of course, the exact location for the police where he found these photos. And police was combing through the area, and in that particular trash bin that the photos were thrown away at, they found a car rental receipt. And this car rental receipt belonged to a man named Charles Rathbun. So Charles Rathbun was a local freelance photographer that did mostly commercial photography. And upon questioning him, he explains that yes, he met up with Sandra that Thursday. They met up at this Danny's restaurant. They had a bite to eat while she was basically kind of like auditioning for a future photo gig that he had in mind. And she brought with her portfolio, and he went over the photos or what have you. According to Charles, he decided to not hire Sandra for that particular gig of his and go with another model. So he, thanked Sandra for her time, and after that, they just went their separate way. Police located Sandra's car at the Danny's parking lot where Charles said that they had their meetup. And upon inspecting Sandra's vehicle, they couldn't find any traces of blood or any evidence of foul play or any struggles around or inside the car. Everything looked pretty normal. So now the police get a word back from the car rental place. So they found the car that Charles rented, but of course the car was all cleaned up and washed out. But they hired a forensic team, and forensics always find those tiny bit of evidence, and that's exactly what they did. Basically, in the back seat of the car, they found tiny specks of human blood and saliva, and upon examining it further at the lab, they concluded that the DNA was from Sandra. So they bring Charles in for questioning a second time, and now his story is changing. So this time he claims that yes, he met Sandra, and actually yes, he was supposed to shoot with her, or they were scheduled to shoot that Thursday. They met at the Danny's, and they drove his car to a place called El Mirage. It's like a little deserty, I would call it, like a very like open field, like deserty area. And he was driving the rental car, and when they parked, he wanted Sandra to do kind of like slow donuts, like donuts when you drive in circle, like your car in circles, like slow donuts around, and he would be standing in the middle and kind of like shooting her while she's going, and this would be like the commercial for that vehicle. And before they start, Sandra asked him to basically show him what he wanted her to do, because she never drove donuts, or she have never driven that style. So she kind of like just wanted to see first what he wanted her to do. And he agreed. So he got into the car, and he started to, drive like in circles. And Sandra was standing in the middle looking at him doing his thing. And then at some point, he claims that he lost control of the vehicle, and he hit Sandra and basically killed her. And at this point, he panicked. So he, put her body in the car, in the back seat of the car, and drove her to Angels National Forest and buried her somewhere over there. Police immediately, upon hearing this, wanted to know exact location, because they were fearing that she might still be alive and in critical condition and need medical help. But Charles were kind of like, he gave them a vague spot. He claims that he doesn't remember. He starts crying, starts showing emotions, and, basically kind of like leading the detectives on a wild goose chase. And later on, the police, they theorized that he did this particularly just to kind of stall the investigation, just so that her body can decompose more, so it will be less evidence on her body. But then after a few days of, interrogating him, and he giving them different locations or what have you, because mind you, Angel National Forest is a huge forest area. It's like literally like like Sequoia. I don't know if you ever heard of Sequoia, but it's like a beautiful place. It's a hiking area. It's a large area, so it's not like just you can't. It takes days or weeks to comb the whole thing over, and to find that particular spot where Sandra is supposedly buried or dumped at, it was very hard. So they needed exact location. But after a few days, they even took Charles on a helicopter ride to kind of like, you know, uh, remind him or refresh his memory of what area he dumped the body from above. He finally took them to the spot and pointed out where he dumped the body. The investigators found Sandra's body buried or dumped in a shallow grave next to a tree. And from now, I will insert some photos from the crime scene when they found her body. So just a little warning. So this is the first photo. So they found her body in this shallow grave, and since the area, by the way, that he kind of like buried her at, or dumped her body at, was between like a tree, and it was like rocks, and it was kind of like in a higher altitude or what have you. So basically, the nature around preserved Sandra's body. So it was very cold at nights, and since he kind of like buried her, like put sand above, like above her body, so it was kind of like a little refrigerator for the body. So her body was actually in very good condition, which surprised the investigators, but they were thankful that that they found her like that, because now they can really see what really happened to her. So, according to the autopsy report and the forensic science, they didn't find any indication of her being run over a vehicle, because usually when someone gets hit by a car in kind of in speed, they get bruises or broken bones, or some indication on their legs, but usually like right above their knee or right underneath, depending on how tall you are. But her legs were in fine, no scratches, no bruises, no broken bones. The only thing that they found on her legs were on her ankle. The photo is here. You can see it's basically clear indications that her ankles were bound, or like, yeah, they were restrained. Another thing, they found so basically her body was very well preserved, no blood, nothing, except on her right, like behind her ear. Here's another photo. Uh, the blood from trauma behind her ear. That's the only blood force trauma that they found on her body. Her cause of death was actually strangulation, and they could clearly see like her eye, the pupils, and all of like the mark, like the strangling mark on her neck. They also noted that she was sodomized with a foreign object. The foreign object was a handgun. And another thing that I forgot to mention was that when they found the rented vehicle, they couldn't see any dents on the front of the car. Usually, if you hit someone, it would leave some sort of a mark or scratches or anything on the front of the car. So that further proves that Sandra was not hit by this vehicle. Charles was quickly arrested and charged for murder and sodomy with foreign object. And while they were building the case against them, the police interviewed a couple of Charles's friends, and according to his friends, they said that Charles had a particular dislike of blonde models or blonde women. He basically despised blonde women. He thought that they were stuck up, that they were, little B words. I don't want to say the whole word, but you get what my point. He also, one of his friends, Charles' friends, could recall that he spoke very ill about Sandra. He called her a little bee. and that she was very difficult to work with. Police also found a rape charge against Charles a few years prior to this. It was one of his then married co-worker that filed a rape charge against him. But according to Charles, they had an affair. So the jury found him not guilty of that rape. During the trial, Charles claims that the sexual encounter with Sandra that Thursday on the photo shoot, he claims that it was consensual, that they both were in on it, and he also claims that Sandra was drunk, like that she was drinking during this photo shoot, and she was like hitting on him. And to further prove his theory, he claims that he has photos of this incident, of the sexual incident. And he also claims that he drawn a map of where he dropped the film roll, and he gave the map to his brother. And according to Charles' brother, he went with his girlfriend, followed the map to Angel National Forest, and he found the film roll. And he, instead of giving the film roll to the police, he went and developed the photos himself. Police got hold of these photos. They concluded that the photo, yes, they were of a female, but basically in the photos you can only see her body parts, particular her lower region. So they, no face in that photo. And also the car that the photo we're taking in was a completely different car from the day of that photo shoot with Sandra. So, and also the forensic people, they could see that the hands of that female and the legs were totally different. So it was not Sandra on those photos. Another thing that I wanted to mention was the amazing work that the forensic team did on this case. So, like I said, basically, according to Charles, he claims that Sandra was drunk. She was drinking on set while they were taking photos and acting all out of place or what have you. But when they found Sandra's body, the forensics team could clearly see, besides the bruising on certain areas or what have you, they could see that her body was actually washed. So it was no trace of makeup. That's one red flag. So if, like, as a model, we all know that if you go to a photo shoot, you are, you wear makeup, you prepared, you have full face on, you look glammed. Her body was found completely nude, like no makeup traces, nothing. Her face was completely washed. Another thing that one of the female forensics found, that the top that she was wearing, I'm going to insert the picture here, as you can see, was pulled all the way up. And usually, according to her, she's like, I don't know, maybe it's a female thing, but she, took mental note of that placement of the zipper. Because usually as a female, if you wear a zip up, like a tight top, you would most definitely leave the zipper like in the mid chest area, so kind of like maybe expose a little bit of your chest, but not pull it all the way up. So she kind of, like the forensic person lady, she took a mental note, and she also presented that in the court. So according to the forensics, Charles washed Sandra's body off and changed her into different clothes. Since Charles doesn't confess to kill and sodomize Sandra, this is the police's theory that for Sandra, that fateful Thursday, this was another, modeling gig. But for Charles, this was basically an opportunity. And sometime during the photo shoot, the police theorize that Charles hit Sandra over the head, and that's the blunt force trauma that we saw in the photo behind her ear. He then tied her up in the back seat, spread her legs open, and the foreign object that the pathologist, he believed it was a handgun, and actually that same handgun was found in Charles' possession at his home when they searched through his home. They did a test and they found Sandra's DNA on that gun. And then afterwards, the police theorized that he forced Sandra to drink. Her toxicology report also indicates that her blood alcohol level were pretty high, so she was intoxicated. But the police theorized that she was basically forced to drink by Charles because, according to the police, it's basically ludicrous to think that this professional model that later on had a fitting scheduled for a well-known TV show. She took her job very seriously. That she would just randomly drink on a Thursday morning to the point that she's like completely drunk, and then she's gonna go after the shoot to do the fitting completely drunk. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, she was forced to drink according to the police, and after he basically strangled her to death and washed her body off, changed her clothes to get rid of further evidence, and yeah, got rid of the body in Angels National Forest. Charles received life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that, my friends, is the tragic case for today. A case that you can use as a cautionary tale, especially if you are new to modeling, if you have modeled, if you're working with a new person or company or what have you. And even, like I said in the beginning, even if you are working with a like well-known company or what have you, or have such and such thousands of followers on Instagram, still, do your research, and never ever forget to leave where you're going, who you're going to be with, how long it's going to take, and the address. Leave that to your family and friends, close ones, so God forbid something like this would happen, they know where to find you. Let me know what you guys think of this case. Have you heard of it? If you have, let me know. Again, if I missed any details or anything regarding this case, please let me know in the comments. Share your info. As always, thank you guys so much for spending your time with me on Friday or whatever day you are watching this video. And before you leave, remember, like, share, and of course subscribe to not miss out on any future cases. If you are leaving comments, just a quick reminder, try to stay positive. Like, this world is already filled with so much negativity, so much hate, so much judgment. I don't want to welcome that to this true crime family of ours. And of course, this is real people and real stories. So you don't want to be mean. You don't want anyone talking bad about your family members. So just think twice before you leave that comment of yours. Stay safe, love yourself, and I see you guys next Friday. Ciao, cacao.